Seth, for those of you that may not know, was our reviewer for the first Series X flight simulator. Certainly not the first flight simulator game. Those go back many, many decades. But Microsoft Flight Simulator from 2020, which, as I think we figured out at the time, was, if not, I think it was the first party game that was a total Xbox Series exclusive, because we'd had, I think there had been one or two third-party games, like maybe the Medium. But anyway, there was a reason that there was no Xbox One version of Flight Simulator, because it's leveraging all kinds of tech, both on Silicon and in the cloud too. And Seth, you gave that game a 10 out of 10, called it a masterpiece. Yeah. And one of the things I would love for you to expound upon here from your preview that went up a couple weeks ago now. It's been a minute since your preview did go up, but you basically said, from what you've seen so far, this one's better than the game that you gave a 10 out of 10 to. So if I turn the floor over to you, sir, to talk about a game that, is it a game? Yes, but it is a simulation. So I know it's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but please tell everybody why you love this thing so much.
Well, it is definitely a simulation, and it goes down to as deep as you want it to be. There are more accessible sort of modes that still use all the simulation physics, but you can sort of skip out on the real heavy duty sim stuff that, like, dorks like me. Like, when I play, I sit down, I sit in a plane that has no power on the ramp. I go through the checklists. I turn dials. You don't have to do that. You don't have to have the powerful dad energy that I exude. But they've put in just more things to do. So now there's a career mode. So you start out, you go to any airport you want to, basically. No, not basically. You go to any airport in the world.
Yeah, they're literally all there, right?
Literally every airport in the world is there. Now, some of them are kind of just generic, but there are, like several hundred that have been handcrafted, and then it's more than that if you take the ones that are on like the marketplace. But yeah, you go there, you kind of meet your flight mentor, and you start a career in aviation. And there's different things you can do. Like, you can be you can fly VIPs from the Hamptons to to the top of their skyscraper in New York City, or you can be a aerial advertiser where you've seen those banners flying through the sky. You can do that. You can be a helicopter crane operator, which is, placing giant like pieces of scaffolding down from the air. It's really cool. And then you build up like skills and money, and you can start renting your own planes, and you can open up your own business, and you can have like a fleet of planes, which is like, man, is it like skill trees? I am very excited for career mode. But then the sim itself has just been improved in every possible way. Like the detail on the ground is 4,000 times greater than it is in Microsoft 2020. So that means when you get on the ground, it doesn't have that almost GoldenEye N64 sort of texture look. It's actually... Yeah, that's another thing. They showed us a shot of a bush plane that had mud on its tires, and I asked one of the developers, "Is that was that just an art asset?" He's like, "No, if you roll through mud, the mud gets stuck to your tires, and the mud will then affect your aerodynamics, and it leaves tracks in the mud, in the snow. If you're in water, it just does all these crazy, unbelievable things." And that's like, I'm so excited. I will say my one criticism is that the character creator kind of weak. I didn't really like that, but who cares? You never see your character. Oh, there was a shot of me crashing into a tree. Don't pay attention to that one. But yeah, I mean, there's hundreds.
Great landing, Seth. This is good footage.
This right here, I don't know.
He's alive, right? He didn't die.
Or this is B-roll of there's a controller issue with the setup that I had.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
Oh, there's other things for people who maybe don't want to go like deep sim. Like, there's weekly challenges. So when we were there was a race in an FA-18 Hornet. Shout out to Maverick, through the Grand Canyon, which now looks exactly like the real Grand Canyon. And of course, to really set that home, Microsoft had this event at the Grand Canyon. But yeah, so there's me racing through. I was trying desperately to beat Jeff Grubb's time, but he had a flight stick and I was using a yoke, so he had a huge advantage over me, but I did come close. But that stuff changes up every week. So there's a new set of 3 challenges every week, leaderboards, online, just competition. I am so excited to do all of this stuff and then inevitably just settle into the same thing that I always do, which is I fly from my home airport to my old hometown and back again 100 times.
So, Seth, would you say that among the differences between 2020 and 2024, that they've built more quote unquote gamey elements on top of the simulation in case you don't necessarily want to dig into the sim? Or like, I guess what I would love to hear from you is kind of what are the key differences between 2020 and 2024 based on what you've seen so far of 24?
I wouldn't say gamey so much as there's just more to do. There's structured things to do now. Like in 2020, I would kind of make up my own, it's so embarrassing to say this out loud, but like I would make up my own sort of mission structure. Yeah. So I would fly from my home airport to Matinicus Island, which is the furthest populated island off the coast of Maine, in a Cessna, land there, and I would and in my mind, I was delivering pizza because that's a real thing that those guys do. It costs $300. They make a lot of money fishing. Yeah, they'll call in a pizza and it costs $300 to get it delivered by airplane. So they'll deliver Domino's to them, and I would just do that. But now you can't be a pizza delivery person, but you can build a career and you can have structured things. There's also like air rescue stuff. So, somebody broke their leg on the side of a mountain and you've got to get in there and extract them. And that stuff all changes. It's not static. It's not like, cool, you can go to this mission on this mountain at any time. No, you're sort of in your hangar and control will send you a message like, hey, we need you to go out to this location. This hiker is stranded and they need your help. So there is definitely more, of that structured sort of thing. There's my hometown right there. What up? What up, North Haven, Maine? So yeah, it's just more stuff for people to do that maybe aren't as nerdy and obsessed as I am with just like flying around kind of aimlessly.
And if I remember from your preview, you mentioned helicopters a few minutes ago.
Yes.
And you'd also mentioned that many airports are there. But did you put in the preview that literally not, and the literal use of the word literally, that literally every helipad on Earth is in the game?
Yeah, that was one of the things that they were like really excited to tell us. They went on this.
It's almost one of those things of like, why?
I don't know. It's every helipad. There's over 1 million obstructions now. So, radio towers, windmills, stuff like that. Those are in the game. There's it has real-time integration with shipping tracking. So if there's a ship in the ocean right now, you will be able to fly over it in real time. And this didn't get in my preview, which is such a bummer, but there was actually a cruise ship in the harbor where I live when I left. And when I was flying in Flight Sim, I was like, oh, that is the cruise ship where it's supposed to be at home right now. And the ferry boat from the island I used to live on was making its 2:15 trip across the bay as I flew over. It was just like all of this unbelievable stuff and a database of animals. So it's crazy.
Wait, hold on. Go on. What do you mean? What do you mean animals? What's going on with animals in this game?
In Flight Simulator 2020, there are these animal missions where, you go and you take a picture of an animal and it sort of shows up as just a mark on your map. There's an elephant here and you fly there and you take a picture of the elephant and you get your achievement for that. In this one, there's some open source animal database that tracks migrations of animals. Wow. So you can fly over a herd of wildebeest on like their migration. And that is where they really are at that time in the world. And they might not be there the next day. And that is just how it is for the entirety of the world. Now, are you going to be able to jump out and see ants crawling on the ground? Not yet. But Jorg Newman, who's the head of Flight Simulator, he's like, I really wanted butterflies in the game. When you got out of your plane, I wanted butterflies to be flying around, and we couldn't get that in. But he says they're actually working on that. So
that's amazing. And all the real-time weather stuff is there, right? So if there's a storm over the ocean in real life, it's there in the game if you fly over it.
Yep. That is something that they originally implemented in 2020.
Yeah.
And they've just improved upon it. So the weather's more realistic. It's a little more, you're less likely to be able to fly through, a violent thunderstorm and be okay.
Yeah.
It's also, it's more graphically, it's much more dramatic. And they have, I can't remember. They were going deep. Cumulonimbus clouds, the really high ones. They only sort of faked that in 2020. It's just a texture, but in this one, they're actually thin layers of ice floating at whatever 48,000 feet.
Yeah,
I just looked it up. Yeah, we flew into Hurricane Laura 4 years ago. I did that gameplay clip, and somebody did a feature about the 9 stunning weather and time options in the original game from 4 years ago. I'm really excited to see those enhancements because honestly, Seth, like the flight stuff is really, really awesome. They had that on lock. All these little enhancements that you're talking about have me even more hyped to play it more.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they increased the number of species of trees. So now when you go to the Pacific Northwest, all the trees are going to look like they really do in Seattle versus what they look like, over here in the Northeast. So just crazy stuff like that. Everything just looks more real. It feels like you're in the real world.
And it's just like 2020. It's everything from little Cessnas to passenger jetliners to the F-18 Hornets that you mentioned. It's just like, it's an insane number of types of aircraft, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how excited everybody here is about hot air balloons, but I believe there's 2.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty nice, actually. So you could go to New Mexico and do the hot air balloon festival.
Yeah, in Albuquerque.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's what's the word I'm looking for? Automated evals. So the sort of single person electric, basically an Uber of the air. They have those aircraft. They have aircraft that aren't actually in production yet. And then, of course, they have the C-17 Glowmaster. Shout out to the United States Air Force. I've flown on a couple of those in my day, and I'm really excited to actually fly one. So,
well, I mean, they had the ornithopter from Dune.
Yeah, and that was such a good DLC. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it just shows how crazy they are about just making things that are as realistic as possible, even when it's not realistic, if that makes any sense. But, the realism in the flights, I can't obviously speak to. Yeah, the controls feel exactly how I expected them to. But they did mention that they had talked to pilots who said, it felt a little, tighter or a little looser than I was used to. And they've addressed that. Oh, wow. I don't exactly know the details. But yeah, they take real pilot feedback, real manufacturer feedback. There it is. There's the C-17 shout out to the Glowmaster.
I mean, I know it's not an apples to apples comparison because Forza Horizon is not a simulation. It is very much an arcade game. But what I'm hearing from you is that Flight Sim 2024 is very much a game for if you love aviation, like there's something in here for you. Just like how in Forza Horizon, if you love driving, if you love cars, that's kind of the experience that permeates through, even if you're not into the nitty gritty of suspension tuning and tire pressures and all that stuff. So again, arcade versus sim, not a direct comparison there, but it sounds like you're still thinking about this game, even though you played it at the event like a month ago.
The number of times I think Tom and Dan on reviews are probably sick of me being like, hey, we get any codes yet? But because I am really fired up. I've actually changed my entire setup in here to better work with Flight Simulator. So when I'm plugging and unplugging controllers, it's much easier now. I am locked in. I am ready. Just let me edit. I have very high hopes on this. The response from the technical alpha that they did, people are really, really impressed. So I'm hoping that carries through to the final product, and we'll see how it works out.
And as you mentioned, November 19th, so it's out the day before Stalker 2 is. So that's quite a consecutive day. 2 games that really could not be more different. Dropping, but both
not at all.
Both that the 3 of you in some combination have played and are super, super high on both of them. So Between those two on the 19th and 20th of November, it looks like Xbox is going to have a great 1-2 punch there. And then for a follow-up punch,